Germany declared that attacking Russian missiles from NATO territory was legal. French officials requested that Ukraine use military aid to attack Russian territory. Dozens of Chechnya soldiers died because Ukraine attacked a Russian-controlled hospital. Ukraine is concerned when Russia gathers a series of strategic aircraft at Alenia airport. Germany declared that attacking Russian missiles from NATO territory was legal. According to Nico Lange, a former employee of the German Ministry of Defense and advisor to the Munich Security Conference, intercepting Russian missiles from NATO territory is legal. Legal interception. Tagesschau newspaper quoted Mr. Nico Lange's statement that NATO member countries downing Russian missiles on Ukrainian territory would not conflict with the United Nations Charter and international law. According to Article 51 of the United Nations Charter, this is completely legal. From the perspective of international law, doing so is also satisfactory, Mr. Lange said. He called for the possibility of destroying enemy missiles and drones from the territory of Poland, Romania and Slovakia. Such missile interception will allow the armed forces of Ukraine to move air defense systems from the west of the country closer to the border line, including to Kharkiv, Mr. Lange said. Previously, members of Germany's ruling coalition, including the Free Democratic Party FDP and the Green Party, proposed establishing a no-fly zone extending up to 70 kilometers into Ukrainian territory using air defense systems are deployed in Poland and Romania. This proposal is intended to help shoulder the burden of Ukraine's air defense, allowing them to focus on protecting frontline areas. Lawmakers cited NATO's downing of an Iranian missile aimed at Israel last month as a precedent, despite the above calls. A German government spokesman announced that NATO would not enforce a no-fly zone over Ukraine, citing the decision of Alliance Secretary-General Jens Stoltenberg. NATO is wise enough. According to Russian political analyst Sergei Poltev, Mr. Jens Stoltenberg's statement was clear. But the discussion about the possibility of establishing a no-fly zone in Ukraine in the context of the country's military withdrawing from some front lines shows that the Western leaders are looking for options to enter the conflict, expert Poltev said. So far, the conflict is definitely limited to Ukrainian territory. On the one hand, they are making efforts to maintain that situation because it is in the West's own interests. On the other hand, they are using every tool at their disposal to inflict maximum damage on Russia while trying to navigate a delicate balance to avoid further escalation of tensions. Experts note that it is no coincidence that Poland and Romania were chosen as possible locations to enforce any no-fly zone. French officials requested that Ukraine use military aid to attack Russian territory. Chairman of the French National Assembly Foreign Affairs Committee Jean-Louis Berlingues called on the country's authorities to allow Ukraine to use weapons donated by this country to carry out raids inside Russian territory. French National Assembly Foreign Affairs Committee Jean-Louis Berlingues said that it is time for France to follow Britain's lead and lift long-standing restrictions on Ukraine on using weapons donated by Paris to raid Russian territory. A change of this nature would be legal given the current situation, Mr. Berlingues argued, because it would end the asymmetry between attackers and defenders. On the other hand, he emphasized, France and other Western countries do not want direct conflict with Russia. Therefore, the issue is not about France intervening in military operations but about removing an unjustified taboo, he wrote in his appeal letter. Since the Russia-Ukraine conflict broke out more than 2 years ago, Western countries have provided tens of billions of dollars in military aid to Kiev. In public statements, these countries all affirmed that the weapons donated to Ukraine were for defensive purposes only and Kiev had to commit not to use those weapons to attack Russian territory. However, this stance seems to be wavering. During a recent visit to Kiev, British Foreign Secretary David Cameron said that Britain does not object to Ukraine using weapons donated by London to carry out such raids. France has been one of the countries that has supported Ukraine most strongly since the conflict broke out. French President Emmanuel Macron has said in recent months that France does not rule out the scenario of sending troops to Ukraine in case Russia breaks through Ukraine's defense lines. On the U.S. side, during a trip to Kiev this month, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken said that Ukraine has the right to choose how to wage war with Russia, but Washington does not encourage attacks on Russian territory. Dozens of Chechnya soldiers died because Ukraine attacked a Russian-controlled hospital. Dozens of Chechen fighters are believed to have been killed in an airstrike on a Russian-controlled hospital in the frontline city of Vovchansk, Kharkiv province. Deputy commander of the pro-Ukrainian Free Russian Legion Caesar revealed to the channel Freedom TV, according to New Voice of Ukraine, Ukraine's attack on the Russian-occupied hospital in Vovchansk took place on May 18. It targets units stationed there including fighters under the command of Chechen President Ramzan Kadyrov as well as soldiers from other Russian regions. Previously, spokesman for the Southern Ukrainian Volunteer Army, Serhiy Brachik, also confirmed that a fierce airstrike took place on May 18 against the central hospital building being used by Russian attack units as a refuge and a large concentration of Moscow's troops in Vovchansk. Military observer Yigal Levin reported that the attack was carried out using a JDAM smart bomb, a controlled surface attack weapon, equipped with a tail control system and guidance system. Inertia is produced by the U.S. and equipped for Ukraine. Ukrainian officials have yet to comment on the attack and its aftermath. Vovchansk is currently a hot spot on the Kharkiv front with bloody battles between Russia and Ukraine. According to video filmed by a drone, a group of Russian soldiers entered Vovchansk on May 14, along the main road connecting the city from the northwest. Other videos shared by Ukraine showed some Russian forces moving from the suburbs into residential areas in western Vovchansk. In the video, Russian soldiers move between buildings and are targeted by Ukrainian drones. Vovchansk is said to have suffered many intense bombings in recent days in addition to fierce street fighting. Police officer Ihor Karchenko, based in Vovchansk, said Russian snipers were positioned on the floors of captured apartment buildings to target Ukrainian armed forces, including police officer, is helping evacuate civilians here. Previously, on May 14, Ukrainska Pravda newspaper quoted information from a number of Russian and Ukrainian sources that Russian troops were using new tactics on the Kharkiv border, including Vovchansk. Accordingly, Russia deployed small groups of soldiers of no more than 5 people to infiltrate Ukrainian bases and then combined with other small groups to form a larger, more powerful attack group. According to the Ukrainian Ministry of Defense, on May 10, Russian forces began pouring into Ukraine's border, trying to break through Ukraine's defense system in Kharkiv and enter Vovchansk. Ukrainian forces repelled the attacks. Ukraine is concerned when Russia gathers a series of strategic aircraft at Alenia airport. Ukraine is showing concern when satellite images show a large concentration of Russian strategic bombers. Satellite images of Alenia airport in the Murmansk region of the Russian Federation appeared. As of May 15, 2024, 12 Tu-95MS strategic bombers, 13 Tu-22M3, 1 Tu-160 and 2 An-12 transport aircraft were present. Special attention should be paid to this because the Alenia military airport is one of the main bases of the long-range aviation of the Russian Air Force, responsible for conducting mass missile attacks on Ukraine. Here we can start from the estimates given at different times by the British Ministry of Defence and the General Intelligence Directorate of Ukraine, that about 40 bombers of the Tu-95MS and Tu-22M3 types are still in service in the combat formation of the Russian Strategic Aviation Forces. And the above mobilization shows that Moscow has actually deployed up to 1/3 of its total combat-capable bombers at Alenia airport. Compared to reality at the end of April this year, there were only 6 Tu-22M3 south at Mozdok airport, a location also suitable for deploying strategic bombers. Additionally, this emphasizes the importance of Alenia as a key base for the Russian Air Force. The concentration of 1/3 of the Tu-95MS and Tu-22M3 fleet at such a remote airfield not only proves the fact that the Russian Federation is preparing for a new attack on Ukraine's critical infrastructure,